Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be, around the globe, in the chat room, on another planet, or on the other side. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I'm Michael Vara. This broadcast is coming at you live from the Radioactive, Columbia, South Carolina, on the east coast of the United States, and I do welcome all of you, wherever it is you may be around the globe, and I truly mean that. Folks, so much that I got that I want to talk about to start things out here tonight. And a very interesting guest as well this evening. Some of you are going to get listen, I'm going to tell you right now. Don't come at me with all your religious stuff and emailing me and all these things about, oh, how could you? My guest tonight, a little controversial for some of you, not for me. I mean, I'll listen to both sides. What the hell, right? No pun intended. Lucifer. We're going to talk about Lucifer tonight just a little bit. Well, a lot of bit. As a matter of fact, my guest is Priscilla Vogelbacher. I think I'm getting that right. I'm guessing I'm getting that right. Her book, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Lucifer, Origins and Revelation. I don't know, folks. What would you say if somebody told you that Lucifer is our creator? What would you say? I know some of you just want to throw bricks, right? Oh, what if you were told God is evil and hell does not exist? What if somebody tried to give you that side of the story? You might get angry. It might go against everything you believe. And I'll tell you what I do. I turn on another mic and I say, all right, let's talk about this. What do you got? And that's what I do. That's how it is here. So we're going to talk about that tonight. I want to hear her side of it. And I will take calls tonight, but I can guarantee you that anybody who calls in will be respectful. And the moment you're not, you won't be on the air, you'll be gone. And if you're in our chat room, you'll be gone as well. So you're going to respect the guest, okay? What we do is we look at all sides, all possibilities, and for some of you, there is no other possibility. For me, hey, I think it's going to be an interesting conversation myself, and I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how some of you roll around with this idea, but that's what we're doing tonight. All right. Hey, listen, we cover everything, folks. This is part of everything, so deal with it. So that's where we're going tonight. So if you're religiously sensitive, you might not want to listen tonight, even though you're the one that probably needs to listen tonight. Now I've got some news I want to get into and some different stuff. Now let me look at a great show some of these stations out there are missing. Here's a really good controversial show. Really, it is. And it's worth talking about. Who knows, right? Yeah, I know you know. I don't, but right? But let's just pretend that, wow. I bet if we were hitting all kinds of different areas on AM and FM, I bet, boy, we'd be stirring them all up, wouldn't we? Now, speaking of AM and FM, as you know, we've got affiliates. We've got digital and otherwise. Our most recent is Deprogrammed Radio in the UK, who's picked us up. Of course, we've got 87.5 WAFR in Massachusetts. We've got K98 Talk, SHR Media. We had another small station, which that's no longer. I told you about a 50,000 watt station in Arizona who contacted us and was interested in picking up the show. Well, they are interested in picking up the show, but they're also interested in picking up some dollars. Isn't that what it always comes down to, folks? Doesn't it always? What they have offered, though, I wouldn't say it's a good deal. I think a good deal would be we split the ad time and I just run on their airwaves, and they make more money off me than they probably do any of the other shows they have on their station. But that being said, they don't know this yet, and some of them aren't willing to take that chance. So what would happen here is I would have to find some sponsorship for the airtime on this big station. Now, I would be willing to do that if we could find sponsors who would put me on there, maybe just even if it's one night a week on there. I mean, think about it. We're going to reach about, 5 million people. I mean, it might be worth one night. But here's the deal. It would cost $300 just for one of my shows to run on that station. And me personally, I can't afford to do something like that. And I know that a lot of these shows who apparently have been in it a while, a lot of them, they get certain deals with these stations. The stations will, they get to run certain ads. And as a reward for that, you get your free airtime or really, really discounted. But that's where we're at. So, people, here's the deal. If you want to hear this show on your local radio dial, here's what you need to do. You need to call your stations, and you need to tell them that they're missing out on a great show, and they need to take a listen to Late Night in the Midlands, and they need to bring it over to their station. Now, the other way we can do it is if people want to sponsor and put us on one of the stations that are only out for money. Listen, they're in business to make money, right? Fine. Okay? If getting on there to prove ourselves, because once they see the ratings, it'll make their heads spin, because I know the ratings will be fantastic. So I'm not concerned about any of that, but that's where we're at with that. So if anybody, we've been asking for years, when will one of these rich people step up and do something positive with their money for this country? Someone has, Donald Trump. Now I'm asking, when will somebody with money who doesn't have an agenda, when will they step up and help shows like this? I mean, boy, we could really, really do some damage if we can get out there. I know that. But that's nor here nor there right now. I mean, we've reached a hell of a lot of people now already. So it's their loss, too. It certainly is. I heard one guy on the station, I won't say what station, but, and he's got the doctor on why people should get their vaccines. You're not going to hear that here. Oh, no. That's why you got to get me on these stations. So the listeners that are hearing that will then hear us and say, hey, wait a minute. That's not what we've been being told. You see? So that's how we'll wake them up. They'll want to debunk it, everything we say. Then when they go to try to debunk it, they'll find it's true. Before you know it, we land listeners, right? All right, let's get into it here. We don't have a whole lot of time. Nuclear engine could get us to Mars in 6 weeks. Russia is working on a new propulsion system that has the potential to revolutionize space travel. That's linked up. You can go check it out. NASA as well working on this, and they're looking to make a nuclear engine. So, wow, we send our astronauts up apparently on rockets like bombs now. Now they want to send them up on nuclear bombs. Well, whatever works, right? I mean, what the hell? We're getting radiated here in South Carolina anyways. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'm pretty outraged, just as a lot of people are. I seen this today. Yeah, everyone I don't follow these clowns. I really don't. But, when it comes into the news, I mean, I can't help but seeing it. And this is just a little ridiculous. People want to keep talking about pedophiles, right? I don't know. What do you call it when Madonna pulls down a 17-year-old's top on stage that exposes her breast? What do you call that? I call her lucky it ain't my daughter. That I'll tell you. Yeah, Madonna's on stage. The old lady there. What does she bring her? She got like glitter on her walker now or what? So Madonna comes out on the stage. There's a 17-year-old girl, a fan of hers. She calls her up on the stage, and then she pulls her top down. I mean, everybody's laughing. You're all accessories to sexual assault on a minor. There's nothing funny about that. Everybody who was there and did nothing about it, you're all guilty. Every one of you are guilty. That's disgusting. 17-year-old girl, and they pull her. I guess if you're a pervert, you think it's okay. Haha, you wish you were there, right? I mean, but this is disgusting. You got a grandmother going up on a stage. But that's what she is. She's a granny now. And she goes up and pulls down the shirt of a minor. Madonna, you're a nasty, nasty individual, and you should be arrested. You should be in jail tonight. Papa don't preach, huh? Anyways, dramatic moment. World's most wanted terrorist dragged away. ISIS fugitive behind Paris massacre is caught trying to flee. They shot him in the leg. They caught him. They've got him. Salah Absalam or something like that. He was shot in the leg. They caught him. They say that he had 4 accomplices, and they're all in custody. So everybody, you could breathe easy. We don't have to ban Muslims now. Yeah, just take that deep breath. Oh, thank God they caught him. All right, moving to something important now. Japan, this is really important. Japan is about to send weapons-grade plutonium back to the U.S. this weekend, folks. And this isn't the first time. This has been going on. And guess where they're deciding to drop this crap? Oh, yeah, you guessed right. They'll be bringing it to the good old South Carolina. Japan will load weapons-grade plutonium onto a ship as early as this weekend to send to the United States in what will be the largest such shipment of the highly dangerous, I'll say it again, the highly dangerous, one more time, Mike, highly dangerous material since 1992. Yeah, so they're going to ship this stuff. They say it's enough to make 50 nuclear weapons, and it will be brought transported to the U.S. Department of Energy's Savannah River. Remember, guys, girls, ladies, men, gentlemen, everybody, whatever you are, illegal immigrants, if you're listening to, you might as well listen. You get everything else free. You remember me telling you about South Carolina, and there was a radioactive waste leak from where they've been already storing this crap? And that it was getting into the ground and eventually going to get, they said right on the local news, it'll eventually get into people's water systems because it's heading down towards the river and there's nothing they could do to stop it. Yeah, so they're going to bring more. Let's add to it. That's what these morons do. Rather than try to solve the problem, they add to the problem. This is kind of this is borderline for me right here. I've had enough of this. I mean, it's just a matter of time before this state, no wonder they've got the best heart hospitals in this state. They need them. They need them because of what they're doing. Spraying you from above and putting radioactive waste in the ground here in South Carolina. It's disgusting. Beautiful, beautiful state. Beautiful state. And you're going to do that. You're going to make the people glow in the dark at night. So shipments of this plutonium, they say, are highly sensitive because the material can be used in advanced nuclear weapons. Oh, great. Now will be a nice hot spot for Obama's ISIS, too, because, they come to South Carolina and get some of that stuff, make some dirty bombs. And they even say here they can make dirty bombs with it. Yeah, so let's bring it to South Carolina. Nice and warm here. So the terrorists there, they could work year-round because they only got to have, a couple cold days. They'll be all right. Bring it to South Carolina. Let the kids, just like Flint, Michigan. I don't hear a lot of people talking about Flint, Michigan. So let's talk about Flint, Michigan for a moment. What a disgrace that is. And I have news for you, folks. There's about 2,000 other cities, they said, that could be just as contaminated as Flint, Michigan. Yeah. That this is an epidemic nationwide, folks, here in the United States. So it's not just Flint, Michigan. All these kids who are drinking lead water, they knew it too. They knew it. So these are the same people we're supposed to trust to bring highly dangerous radioactive material to our country, let alone to my state? Really? And then what will we hear 10 years from now? Oh, we're sorry it got into the drinking water. We forgot to tell you. Oh, I'm sorry your kids' brains are half developed and that they're being born with 1.5 heads in 4 arms. We're sorry. We forgot to tell you about that. But don't worry. We'll give you a little money and you shut up, right? Kind of like what they do with the Clintons. We'll give you a little money, you know? It's unbelievable. I'm really angry about this, bringing this. And I'll tell you, Nikki Haley, I love you guys. You think, a woman's got a pretty little smile, so anything she does is okay. I don't care. That does not matter to me. That woman she's the devil. She's taken money. She's taking money. That's why they're doing it. They're getting paid to do it. So she's taking money and she's endangering everybody in this state. Not to mention everybody in the country, because it affects everybody. In the long run, it affects us all. And this is sickening. So Nikki Haley, the government puppet, who won't return any of my calls and won't return any of my emails, because I'm just a conspiracy theory, and she's the big bad governor who could bring radioactive material and put it into Satan. And most people wouldn't know. Just think, if they get control of the internet, we'll never know about these things. Never. Anyhow, $63 million and counting on the anti-Trump ads. Yeah, $63 million. Man, they could have given me 100,000 of that, and I would have been fine. You know, they wasted $63 million, $63 million, trying to stop Trump with negative TV ads. They're finding is they're wasting their money, because nobody serious is watching TV anymore. I mean, there are sheep that are, but I mean, most of us are awake now. I think a good majority of us are. At least half of us are. So they're wasting their money. Glenn Beck, he said, failure to elect Ted Cruz will leave us with blood on our hands. This is the guy he wants.
Yes. Leviticus 20:13 calls for the
there he is, the nut again.
Homosexuals.
Kevin Swanson.
Yes.
Ted Cruz's buddy.
Romans chapter 1 verse 32, the Apostle Paul does say that homosexuals are worthy of death.
All right. Enough of that. I heard enough of that. We've been playing this guy for 2 days now. This nutcase. But I mean, that's Ted Cruz's guy right there. It is. It really is. I mean, if I play the whole clip, you'll hear him. He announces Ted Cruz. Here comes Ted Cruz. Yeah. So, and this is the guy, Glenn. I told you, everybody, a long time ago, Glenn Beck was a puppet. Nobody listened to me. Some of you argued with me over it. Oh, some of what he says is true. I don't care about what some of what he says. Everything's got to be true, or he's a fraud. The guy's a fraud. Look. So Fox News, they knew what they were doing. It's like, tell you what, Glenny, we'll still support you, but we're going to send you to the internet. Because we notice that a lot of people are going to the internet for their news. So how about we infiltrate the internet now? And he was almost the start of that whole game. So guys like that, look, that's like being with the Illuminati and leaving, just being with the mafia and just say, hey, I'm done today, guys. It don't work that way. Once you're one of them, you're always one of them. Glenn Beck's one of them. He's one of them. He's one of the mainstream media. Anyways, I've wasted enough time on the Becker. Could we soon have superhero night vision? Yeah. In South Carolina, we can. We're about to get radioactive here. They say brain implants could give us a sixth sense by making us see infrared. And they said that the sensors that turn light into electrical pulses, well, they could put it in a chip, they could put it in your head, and you can see at night. Or you could move to South Carolina, go fishing in the Swansea River. Yes, spend a beautiful, wonderful, luxurious afternoon with your family. Go down to our luxurious Swansea River, cast your poles, but make sure you have your license first before you go hunt for food. And then go ahead and see, because, if radioactive or not, you've got to have a license. Throw your line in the water, and whatever you catch, watch as you eat it, and you'll get such a glow to you. Everyone will see your aurora, because you'll have such a glow to you. Yeah, that's in South Carolina, so come get you some. And by the way, doomsdayers, one comment to swerve closer to Earth than any other comment in centuries. That's coming up. You're going to have, they say it's going to be the closest one in 250 years. Like 250 years ago, they knew. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. But anyways, all this is linked up on latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, become a late nighter, so you can have the late nights without the late nights. So I'm going to take this break. I'll be back with Priscilla Vogelbacher. And we're going to talk about Lucifer tonight, folks. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
This morning I woke, restless and heady, with blood pulsing fierce in the vein. There's light on the line this morning, and maybe forever. I move with regard for the signs. You know I've searched my heart to prove there's better ways to push and pull. Hey, whatever gets you through these days.
I'm Donald Trump, and I'm running for president. Our country is in deep trouble because, let's face it, politicians are all talk, no action. My opponents have no experience in creating jobs or making deals. The fact is, I'm going to make the greatest trade deals we've ever made in our country, and I'm going to bring jobs and money back to the United States. I'll take care of our veterans and make our military so strong that nobody will mess with us. I'll secure our borders, and yes, we will have a wall. You can't have a country without borders. And I'll make sure that the Second Amendment and our religious liberties are protected. Obamacare is a total disaster. It will be repealed and replaced with something much better. If the people vote for me, you'll never be disappointed. I don't disappoint people. I produce. Together, we're going to make America great again. I'm Donald Trump, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
On the east coast of the United States, from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vara. To talk to Michael Vara, dial 803-392-4566 or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
All right, folks, we are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vara, and we have got ourselves somewhat of a controversial type topic tonight, which is okay with me. I love it myself. And my guest tonight, I would say, is anything but a devil woman. But she says that people have got it wrong, that it is Lucifer who is the Almighty One. And, well, you know, folks, quite honestly, I'm willing to hear all sides of it. See, I have no major horse in the race. I'm open to whatever people discover. So I'm always open to things. So that's why I could smile about this while some of you probably can't. So it's probably best that some of you don't even listen tonight, because yelling at me is going to do nothing but get you blocked. I'm telling you that right now. So don't even bother, really. But seriously, later we'll take calls. Priscilla Vogelbacher is her name, and I might be getting the last name. I might be a little off there. She is very talented in the traditional arts, music, and writing. A self-taught artist, she has been drawing since the age of 5, an avid and highly regarded art student her entire life. What you see in her traditional work is the result of trial and error. She also plays electric and acoustic guitar and has tutored others in that, helping them learn. Since 2002, she has been reading and researching occult, history, religion, conspiracy, subjects like that, and specializing in mythology. From 2011 to 2014, she wrote her first book, the subject of which is what we're talking about tonight, folks. We're going to get into the whole religious thing, the concept of Lucifer, and she's actually currently working on a second book. But let's first get around here to talk about this one, shall we? So, folks, everyone, please welcome Priscilla to Late Night in the Midlands. Good evening, Priscilla. How are you?
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's great to have you. I thank you for coming on to talk with us tonight. I know this isn't the easiest topic. People could be pretty rotten when it comes to this stuff, but I'm not. I'm open to just about anything. So I welcome you to the show, and I'm looking forward to learning a little bit from you.
Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of people are closed-minded about this, and that has a lot to do with prejudices people have that they grew up with, born into things of that. I also would like to say, first off, that my last name is pronounced Vogelbacher, and everybody gets it wrong, so it's okay.
Vogelbacher. Well, I always get names wrong, so you can count on that with me. Vogelbacher. Now, I'm going to try to remember that, but I can't promise anything.
That's fine.
I'm really bad with names. I'm horrible. But yeah, so I thought maybe we'd start with a little bit of background. Where did it all start? When did you get into this? When did you look and say, hey, wait, something's different here?
Well, in 2002, I was unaware of all of this, really. I grew up Roman Catholic, and I had to go to church until I was 18. I attended catechism. I had First Communion. It was Roman Catholic. And so I went through all that. So I'm really familiar with this at a first-hand basis. And but I really didn't start reading about all of this until about 2002 when I got Zecharia Sitchin's first book, The 12th Planet. And like so many other people, it expanded my worldview. It showed me a way to look at our origins in a completely new and different way than I had previously thought of.
And now, if I did my research correctly, you actually later debunked Zecharia Sitchin's.
Yeah, that's right.
And so tell me a little bit about that, because we have a good portion of audience who really loves the whole Nibiru concept, and so
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and shatter their dreams.
Okay, so Sitchin is wrong, and he's fundamentally wrong. Your listeners might have come across the website by Michael Heiser, Sitchin is Wrong, and he points out some things. But the most glaring thing that Sitchin gets wrong is Nibiru. Now, there's only 2 instances in all of mythology, as far as I have seen, where Nibiru is even mentioned. And that's twice in the Babylonian epic of creation called the Enuma Elish. And in one instance, it's referred to as the planet Jupiter. And the other instance, it's referred to as the sun. And that's really all it is. So this idea of a 3,600-year elliptical orbit of this rogue planet that is coming to get us is just nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense.
So then Sitchin, he actually, I don't know, he had a whole story going along with aliens who came here and enslaved us and the whole 9 yards. So none of that happened then.
Well, not exactly the way he said it.
I see.
The gods, as far as my research has shown me, are not cosmic. They are not cosmic deities. They are subterranean, chthonic deities. And we can get into that if you like.
Well, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, the whole idea of the gods being cosmic contradicts what that actually means, because there's a few ways of looking at mythology. And our current paradigm that people accept is called the Astro-theological paradigm. And astrotheology, for anybody who doesn't know, is the worship of the heavens. And of course, it only seems natural from an evolutionary standpoint that animism comes from observation of the heavens, because primitives, as we're told, needed to read the stars to understand where they were going so that they could be safer, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the whole idea of gods being cosmic comes from astrotheology. But there's a problem with that, because a lot of people believe that the savior figure, like Jesus, was a real human being. But Jesus is part of mythology. That's something a lot of people don't like to understand. And so you have this paradox. Either Jesus existed, but that means that all the gods of mythology existed, or Jesus did not exist. And all of mythology is astrotheology, and you can interpret it as euphemisms and metaphors as you like, as people enjoy doing. But that's an astrotheological perspective. Now, if you want to say Jesus was alive and he was a real man and did what he did in the Gospels, fine. But then we got to look at mythology from a historical point of view. You can't have one without the other. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then, well, first off, I've heard so much over the years. First off, if Jesus was really here, a real person, then his name wouldn't have been Jesus, I'm told, as well. It would have been...
Right. Well, his real name is Yeshua, or Yahashua, however you want to pronounce it.
And so, but he would actually be a man, though, right? I mean, not actually a godly figure. So he would be someone who was actually hearing voices and was, I guess, doing what he was being told? If he was alive.
What do you mean by doing as he's told?
Well, apparently he was, he would get messages from God, and God, would guide him. He was able to, he had godly-like powers, I was told. Like, he could heal people and do all these things. And so if he could do all that, then I don't know how much of a man he was.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was not a man. I mean, for all intents and purposes, if he was a real person, assuming, he was a demigod, not a human being. And that would explain why he was able to do what he did.
I see. So, okay, so then now you say that, or your interpretation of things is that Lucifer kind of got the bad rap here. Is that right?
Yeah, he was maligned.
He was... Ooh. That could be a sign. Okay, so he was what now?
He was maligned. He was his efforts were thwarted, and there's a lot of background information to understand. Excuse me. So just tell me where you want to start.
Wherever you'd like. I mean, when we go back even to the Garden of Eve, or Eden, we're told that he was a snake and that he gave them knowledge. And I've always questioned that. I said, well, why is giving people knowledge and fruit a bad thing? So you can start there if you'd like.
Okay, sure. Well, in the Eden myth, the Hebrew word for the snake is nachash. And it could be taken three ways. As a noun, it means serpent. As a verb, it means deceiver or diviner. And as an adjective, it means shining one. And other people translate Nakash as he who solves secrets. So no matter how you look at it, all of those allude to Lucifer. And now the fruit was not an apple. This is something a lot of people don't understand. The whole apple comes from the Latin word used for the fruit. Because if you read English translations of the Old and New Testaments, you'll just see the generic term fruit, not specifically an apple. And in Latin, the word is malum. That means apple. But the priests couldn't help themselves and used a word play on malum with another Latin word called malus. And malus means bad. So that is where you get the bad apple motif. And then, of course, throughout artwork, you see the apple because nobody knew any better.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things that I think that, like I say often that, a lot of these things that we were told were like miracles performed. I think that with our technology today, we could pretty much show how these things could be done without, I guess, a miracle, but I guess some would still call that a miracle. But so I wonder if there wasn't, technology involved with some of the things that happened back, thousands of years ago, and all these accounts that we have.
Oh yeah.
So was Lucifer considered? I mean, was he really kicked out of heaven, as they say, or was he just somebody who, I don't know, he had some technology and it scared people?
Neither, actually.
So fill us in on. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a biblical scholar. I've read the Bible a few times. I get what I get out of it, and I'm not on either side. I'm not somebody, people get mad at that, but someone will ask me, "What are you? Are you Christian? Are you this? Are you that?" I'm Michael Vara. I'm LNM. Yeah. So that's what I am. So I'm not judging anything you've got to say tonight. Others might, but I'm not. And so I'm trying to like get inside your head a little bit and figure out where how you took it down that road and what you found that made you decide what you have. And I'm really interested in it because they call Trump a bad guy too. I don't think he's bad. So
yeah, there's your real evil threat. Him and Cruz.
Yeah, well, we'll stick to Lucifer tonight and leave the politics in hell with everybody else. But sure. So Lucifer, how did he get such a bad rap?
Well, it's, to be honest, it's Christianity did it. Because you got to understand the God of the Abrahamic religions, Yahweh in Judaism, Jehovah in Christianity, and Allah in Islam, is a composite figure of other chief deities that came before him. So it is with Satan. Satan is a composite figure of deities that came before him. And we can get into that too. But this is the key to understanding the narrative. Because what I've done is piece together this complete narrative from all the sources, biblical and extra-biblical, to come up with a cohesive, coherent picture of what exactly happened. Because if you just read the Bible or the Quran, you're not going to get the truth. It's not in there. Flat out, plain and simple, it's not there. Well, so you got to go. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, well, there are people, not me, but there are people out there who would boy, they'd argue so strongly against that. And for me, I've always said that, the last I knew, God didn't have a ballpoint pen and write anything. And so that's where I stand. So I take it with a grain of salt. I look at it as accounts that people from a long time ago had, and they didn't know some of the things they were seeing. They didn't know what they were, so they called them other stuff. But and that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, man, I don't trust man, and man had to do with writing and putting that stuff together. And so you got to wonder where the agenda falls, and I always think that way. And just out of curiosity, I don't want to go all into politics, but who do you poll for? Can I ask?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. All right. And Lucifer is God. I love it. No, this is good. This is really good. Seriously. I'm not picking or fighting or nothing. I'm just awesome. All right. So so take me down the road here and give me some more. I cut you off. You were about to I hit you with the politics.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You were saying about technology. Now, I don't believe the ancient astronaut theory is all that credible. And the biggest thing that I have seen to which people credit the ancient astronaut theory is that, the gods came down from heaven. The gods descended from the sky. And that's how we know.
Yeah.
Well, that's not entirely true. Yeah, a lot of texts, a lot of verses in texts say that the gods descended from the sky in different instances. However, that does not necessarily mean the cosmos. Etymologically, heaven is the sky, and technically the first heaven is the firmament, our atmosphere. So there's no specificity in the biblical text as to which heaven God resides in, as far as I've seen.
Well, yeah, and we've been in space, right? So that's another question I've always had is like, okay, so where is this heaven located?
Right. But I mean, heaven is just a generic term for the sky, and heavens, plural, is a term for outer space. So we got to be specific in what we're talking about.
Right. And I think that, I don't know where you stand with all this, but for me, when people die, I don't think that you're actually dead. I think there is this other side, this other dimension that you go to. And for me, it's not heaven and it's not playing harps. I don't know what it is, but I mean, people have had ghostly encounters, so you got to wonder, there's something must be going on somewhere that we don't know about. But
yeah, I have my own ideas on that, but it's not necessarily based on any textual evidence, just my personal beliefs.
Right. Have you ever had any experiences of your own? I mean, something like that would say, hey, kind of knock on the door and say there's something else out there?
No, I've had a few UFO sightings, but that's about it.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, you're not an atheist. You don't think that there's nothing.
No.
You're just saying that they've got it mixed up here with who the good guy and the bad guy is.
Right. Personally, I'm agnostic. I take no side. I don't worship Lucifer or the devil or Satan or whatever epithet you want to call him. Mm-hmm. I don't worship God. I don't worship goddess or any other deity.
So you really don't have a horse in the race either. You're just giving out what you found based on your research.
Exactly.
All right. I got to respect that. Even if you did worship Lucifer, I wouldn't crucify you for it.
Personally, I have come to feel that Luciferianism is the most benign faith out there these days. So, I mean, if there are Luciferians listening, or somebody who wants to be a Luciferian, by all means, have at it. I think it's a good thing. It's a good step forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I always tell people, forget religion and go with experience, go with what's inside of you, and that might be corny, but it's safe.
Yeah.
It keeps you out of the fights. I mean, I've dealt with both sides. I've dealt with the hardcore Christian who, they're like the guy I just played, this pastor who said, all gays should die, and then, I mean, you get people like that, they're just extreme, and yeah. These people, their religion's just as dangerous in their hands as a gun would be in, I don't know, a psychopath's hand. I mean, you know, so it could get dangerous. And on both sides, I've had people who told me they were satanic worshipers and they wanted to sacrifice me. I'm not kidding you. I mean, I've got those messages. I mean, and you know, and people say don't take it lightly. They really do these things. And so I wonder, when they do these things, I mean, they've got to be pulling some kind of dark energy from this, wouldn't you think?
I really don't know.
No?
You know, as far as the texts are concerned, Satan is not evil, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, then that's... Okay, so then how did he get such a bad name from the church? And, I mean, why did they make Jesus the hero and Lucifer I guess, the devil, right?
Yeah. Well,
I know it's not an easy question, but you got.
No,
listen,
it's not an easy question, but I can answer it. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
As long as you need. I'm not rushing you. Go ahead.
All right.
Yep.
So, like I said before, the Abrahamic God, as well as the adversary, are composite figures, conflations and amalgamations of other deities. So let's start with Allah.
Okay.
Allah is an Arabic word which literally means the God. And that comes from Allahu, which is a contraction of Al-Ilahu. And Al is the definite article, and Ilahu, it means God. So still you have the God. But Allahu is grammatically related to the word Elohim. And Elohim in the Bible is a plural word for God. Gods. And actually, the El connotes both male and female. So Elohim, and another word is Alim, which is interchangeable. It's the same thing. Elohim is plural for God. And that's a word used for God in the Old Testament a lot. So when you're referencing God of the Abrahamic faith, you are in fact referencing many gods at once. So now you have El, which is another name for God. And El is the head of the Canaanite pantheon in Canaanite mythology. And El is also a Semitic deity. And El means God, of course. And in the Bible, all these names of God that I'm going to be going through had been translated all in Lord or Most High or whatever. Well, meanwhile, Satan is not an actual word of a deity. Satan is a Hebrew word, and that actually did not get translated. And the Satan took on a persona of its own, and the priests and the rabbis gave it an evil persona. Oh. So anyways, El, the Semitic El, is formation of the noun Eloha, which is interchangeable with Elohim. So what you have with Allah is Allah, the God, of course. But the divine essence of Allah is Al-Dat, which is feminine. And Alat, or Al-Ilat, comes from Alatu of Babylonia. And Alatu is a chthonic goddess. In Akkadian, her name is Ereshkigal. And she's a lunar goddess. So Allah goes back to a subterranean goddess. His origin is female. So there's Allah. Okay. Now Yahweh, we have the Tetragrammaton. And the Tetragrammaton is a word that literally means four-letter word and vocalized as Yahweh. YHWH, that's the four letters. And Yahweh is also known as Jael. For example, in the Apocalypse of Moses 29:4, is known as Jael, and other places as well. And Yahweh, of course, as I said before, is Jehovah, but Jehovah is a late medieval word, and it's artificially constructed from the Hebrew JHVH tetragrammaton Yahweh, or Yadhi-Vahi, as the Hebrew letters are, mixed with the vowels of the Phoenician supreme deity Adonai. And Adonai means the Lord, because Adon means Lord. And Adonai is actually the secret name of Jehovah. Now, when you take the Hebrew word Jehovah and the Hebrew letters and insert the Hebrew letter Shin, which is the one that kind of looks like a W, if you insert that into the middle of the Hebrew word Jehovah, you get Jehoshua, which is Jesus. So that's why Jesus is the incarnated Jehovah. And that's where Jesus came.
Oh, okay. And so, but this would just be mythology, or would you say that Jesus, is there any proof of his existence?
No.
No.
The only proof of his existence is in the New Testament.
So,
outside of that, there's no mention.
So then if he didn't exist, I mean, could it be that a lot of these figures, including Lucifer, might have been all made up by these people of then, or no?
Could be. That's one way of looking at it.
Nope. Being attacked in here by something. I don't know what the heck it is. We got something flying around in here. Get out of here. Hold on, everybody. I got my light on here. I don't know what this thing is. Huge thing. It just keeps bouncing off. Oh, there he is. Oh, well. If there's a God bug, let me know. Alrighty. Alright, so the bug might let us know if there's a God or not, folks, because I just sent him to wherever he's going. But, yeah, he landed right on my head. It was kind of, of course I'm on the air, right? It's got to happen. But, so Lucifer then, well, as the story goes, I mean, he was, such a bad guy. But what led you to believe that he's not the bad guy that he's said to be? I mean, give me, I don't know, for a stupid guy, I guess, kind of put it in terms that many of us could understand. Like, what led you? I mean, what did you stumble upon that said, hey?
Well, the most glaring piece of evidence before I even started writing this book was the Eden story, because in my mind, and this was before I had evidence at all, I read that in the Old Testament. And I thought, he's freeing Adam and Eve from a life of servitude. He's not doing anything evil. God placed him in a garden, right? And he comes in and he gives him the fruit, which actually, in the Gnostic scriptures, it says when he gave him the fruit, their minds opened and their teeth were set on edge. And there's a lot of evidence to, in my mind, pretty much prove that the forbidden fruit of Eden is mushrooms, namely the Amanita muscaria, which is a powerful hallucinogenic. So magic, it's a story that comes from the mushroom cult, which is one of 7 original cults from which all religion derive.
The mushroom cult.
Yeah.
We might still have some of those around. So, I mean, is there really proof of any of these I call them characters, any of them being around, like Adam and Eve? I mean, Moses, any of these people? I mean, so it could have all just been made up, and then I would have to ask why, and why make Lucifer the bad guy?
Yeah, well, you need a scapegoat for all your trouble and problems, right?
Well, that's true. I mean, most people do.
Yeah, you need somebody to blame for all the horrible things that happen in life.
I see. So then, who exactly was Lucifer? Tell us about Lucifer. Give us the real bio on Lucifer.
All right. So Lucifer of course, comes from the passage in Isaiah, which is the only passage that explicitly mentions Lucifer. Now, it goes, how art thou fallen from heaven, O son of the morning, who didst weaken the nations, etc., right? And I'm sure everybody is familiar with that passage. Now, St. Jerome, in his translation of the Vulgate, changed a word to Leucophos, which associated Apollo and Pan, which is why you get the hooves of Satan, from the god Pan. And of course, Apollo is a god of light, which is associated with Lucifer, who's a god of light. Earlier, you were mentioning Jesus, and we were talking about that. Jesus says, let me backtrack. Everybody says Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light. But the only person, the only character in the Old or New Testament to demonstrate this is Jesus. Now, Jesus comes from Jehovah, and as I claim, Lucifer is God, and I can explain that right now to make it easier on you and your listeners if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's do that first. So the Tetragrammaton is in the Hebrew lettering IEUE, and that's the English transliteration of it. I pronounce it Io for other reasons. But Io is literally he is and is, which from that comes the I am that I am. When Moses asked him, "Who are you?" Which basically means none of your business, And the Io is actually pronounced Adonai by the ancient Jews. And from Io derives Juve or Jove of the Etruscans, and Jove is Jovis of the Romans, or as he was known, Jovis Pater. And Pater is a Latin word that means father, so it's Father Jovis. But Jovis later became corrupted into Jupiter, and so you have Father Jupiter. So Jupiter, and of course Zeus, is also Yahweh and Jehovah. And Zeus Pateros in Greek came from Deus Pitar. That was the Indian epithet of his. And Yahweh, another epithet of Yahweh is Jau or Io, is like I said. And Io is the beginning and the end. In Greek lettering, it's iota, alpha, and omega. So it's literally the beginning and the end. The Greeks called Yahweh Io. Now, Jehovah derives from Janus, and Janus is named after the goddess Juno in Rome. And Janus is from the Hebrew Jah, which is a Semitic variant of Jehovah. And Jah is also Jahi, which is a Zoroastrian chthonic demoness known as the whore. So it goes way back. Now, another chthonic demoness that we come to. So it all goes back to the underworld, it seems, when you really pan out the linguistics of this, which I have done.
Well, yeah, and when I look back at everything, I mean, I've read the Bible, like I say, a few times, and, because I had I've had shows where people come on, I want to know, have at least know a little bit about what the heck they're talking about, and so when I look at it, I don't know, to me, I see a lot of, it just seems like a lot of stories. Just, I mean, because it goes back further than the Bible. I mean, you go back to Sumerian texts. I mean, and what you see is it almost seems like some of this stuff is repeated in the Bible. So we're definitely not getting the real story with all of this. And, and again, to keep the peace, I try not to argue with everybody about it. But there's, some people who would swear up and down, if you want the truth, the Bible's it, that's it. And I disagree. I think that if you're just looking at the Bible, or if they're just taking your view or just my view or anybody's view, then they're cutting themselves short, because they should do the research themselves and get what they can for themselves out of all this stuff. Me, I mean, I don't know. When I look at it, I see whoever God was, it seems like he was angry. It seems like he was, he was really into punishing. I'd see a lot of rituals like wipe the blood up on the door, top of the door, and or we'll kill your firstborns. I don't know. When I see stuff like that, I don't know if that's somebody I'd want to deal with. So I'm wondering if somebody, here's where we go into what could be called conspiracy theory, I guess. But, if we're not going to, add extraterrestrials into the equation, then you got to wonder if there wasn't some kind of time travel going on, or some kind of advanced human species that was already here or something on top of these people, because it's just amazing what the things that they explain sometimes in these stories in the Bible. And you wonder, well, we were told these people had like stone tools and stuff. So how the heck were they doing these things?
Well, all right. So the perspective that I take is called the Euhemeristic perspective. And that comes from a guy called Euhemerus, or Euhemeros, who was in the 4th century BC. He was a philosopher and mythographer in the court of Cassander, king of Macedon. And he was the first one credited with, approaching mythology as a historical account. And to me, this is really appealing, because you have all these people out there who are really into the ancient astronaut theory. But like I said, it's not very viable. It doesn't add up.
Yeah.
But the Euhemerist perspective does, because it just takes mythology, and I wouldn't say demythologizes it, but it uses reason and logic to make sense of what is written.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it would. But now you claim that Genesis, that the Genesis 2 through 11. Now, what's the deal with that? You say that the New Testament, the Quran, is not detailed accurately. That they're, well, according to what you're saying, I guess all of it would be inaccurate, right? Or they just change the names, or what?
Well, the process that I use is called intertextuality, and mythologists use this. It's basically comparing texts and see how texts interact with each other, what similarities are there, etc., etc. But what's came to me quite early on was that I read the Bible, like I said, the Quran, which doesn't have a whole lot of mythology.
Well, what about real quick, what about the parts in the Quran? I've never actually read the Quran, but are there parts in there where they actually are told that if they, kill people, that they'll get all these virgins and all this? I mean, that's really in there, huh?
I can't find that, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing. That's what people tell me.
I don't know about that.
well, where did that come from?
I really don't know, but 72 is a zodiacal number. It's Dodecan of the zodiac, and it has to do with the precession of the equinoxes, which is a whole part of the zodiac, and where astro-theology comes from, with the observation of the heavens. So that's where the 72. So I don't know. Wishful thinking, maybe?
Well, it would definitely be wishful thinking. I say, yeah, these guys who are blowing people up and thinking they're good, these guys might get up there and have 72 old men virgins. Then they're in real trouble.
Exactly. They'll be virgins, just not the ones you want.
Well, yeah, so watch what you wish for. It's like that commercial where the guy gets the genie and he says, give me $1 million, and he gives him 1 million deer. So watch what you wish for. But hang on with us for a moment. We've got to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk some more. We'll take questions from the chat, sensible, reasonable questions from the chat for Priscilla tonight. And you're welcome to call in. Like I say, folks, no matter what, be respectful. That's all I ask. And I know that we've got great listeners, and the majority of you would have it no other way but to be respectful. So make sure you are, because I'll get rid of you immediately. 803-392-4566. You can also call us on Skype ID LNM Radio. We're talking about, kind of talking about the biblical scripture, and it's being backwards. Lucifer gets the bad rap, and my guest says that he's not the bad guy. So, who am I to argue? Like I say, I'm no biblical scholar. So maybe if some of you've got some questions and you want to call in, you can do so. Otherwise, we'll just keep going along here and trying to connect some dots. Folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vara. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Got a lot tied up inside. Got Jesus on your mind. And a boy that just won't fight. Baby, it's a grind. And this your bitter life, where nothing just won't do. The girl pleads, the woman needs a wedding ring. That bird won't sing.
All right, folks, we are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vara, and my guest, she says that based on her research, Lucifer is the good guy. Priscilla is my guest tonight. Folks, you can find her linked up on our homepage, latenightinthemidlands.com, and that's Vogelbacher, I believe. I probably got it wrong again, though. But she's linked up on our homepage at latenightinthemidlands.com, right in the picture slider. Click it, take you over to her website. Also have her linked up on our schedule page, so you can go over and get a copy of the book if you like. Look, it's not going to burn a hole through you. She's not supporting evil. She just believes, based on her research, that things are backwards. So we'll contest what we can, and we'll have to just say, hey, there's two sides to every coin, right? Anyways, folks, go over to latenightinthemidlands.com, become a member, be informed, and inform others. Become a late nighter so you can help keep us on the air, and we can keep bringing you the best guests with the best information. We even got the best listeners. We really do. We've got great listeners, and we've got some who are there are a few out there that have been total morons, and and they come back, though. Even though we call them out and tell them they're morons, because they are, they still come back. That means because we do such a great job here, they have to be here. And look, I love all my listeners, even the morons. There are some morons out there. I mean, come on. I ain't going to start naming you now. That wouldn't be fair. But you know who you are. You've said stupid things. You've tried to call me certain things because I support certain things. And, it's just... it is what it is. But hey, thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. I really do. It's the people who come to learn. Those are the ones that I love the best. Really, the ones that come to learn, not the ones that come to disrupt. When you disrupt, I mean, you don't do anything but get yourself kicked out. I don't know why you do it. I mean, what's the point? You got your buddies? Are you all sitting in your tutus there, and you got like 4 buddies on the couch giggling? You got them. You really showed them. I don't know. I'm just wondering what goes on with these people. I mean, do they drinking too much whiskey, or I mean, what's the deal? We do have calls. Well, we have a call on the line right now. We'll take more too as we move along. 803-392-4566. Skype ID LNM Radio. Folks, I gotta say it. Well, no, I won't. I'll just leave it alone. You know who you are. Stop being dumb. Really. Come on. All right, so let's get back to it with my guest. And because I mean, if the trolls would have it, they'd have me fighting with them all night long, and I'm not going to do it. 202 area code. You are on Late Night in the Midlands with myself and Priscilla. Hello.
Hello, Michael.
Well, good evening.
Vara, I love your classroom. You're teaching these immature-minded youth a lot today, and sometimes I feel like one of those youth. Miss Priscilla, you are doing wonderful. Now, I have a direct question I have for you.
Thanks. Go ahead.
I'm ready for you. Now, I want to understand the reason why Constantine decided to join with the quote-unquote Christians at that time to create this Bible that we have today. And what was the purpose behind doing that? Because it seems like, that one world order ideology?
Yeah, I know about that. Was that the question?
Yeah, that's the question. Why would this situation occur? And why would, as I know how Mike feels and other people feel, why would there be generations of this lie going on?
All right, so Constantine converted to Christianity, as the conventional history books tell us in school. He was in a battle and saw a cross in the sky, and he won that battle. So after that, he converted to Christianity. That's the nutshell version. Now, but he didn't write the Bible. The Old Testament was already written. The New Testament, the books of the New Testament that were slipped in right away, was under the supervision of the Flavian dynasty of the Roman Empire. And it was oversaw by Josephus. And so why did they do this? Well, in Jerusalem and in Israel, at that time, the Jews were a rebellious bunch. And there was this one particular kind called Sicarii. And the Sicarii were a group of assassins that went around killing Roman officials. And the Romans were doing a pretty good job of oppressing the Jews back then. And a lot of Jews didn't know what to do. They were waiting for a savior. And the Flavian dynasty gave it to them in Jesus. Hey, here's your king. Here's your savior. Yeah. That's the gist of it.
Wow. And I'm just trying to understand exactly. But, I mean, with Constantine joining with the quote-unquote Christian cult of that time period, it would secure his dynasty is basically where it all wraps up to be.
As far as I know, he converted on his own accord. Actually, there's a little more to the story. He killed his wife and son, and the Christian religion was the only one around at that time that would forgive him of his sin of killing these people. So that was actually more of a reason in my mind.
Well, thank you so very much. And Michael, I have to say thank you very much, because LNM, is blazing the trails. We love your website. We love everything about you. You, Ira, Ryan, the rest of the guys, keep on pushing this information and the truth.
All right. Well, I thank you so much, and I thank you very much for the call.
Okay, this is Daryl saying good night, everybody, and I'm still listening.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you. Good question. But that's what I want to do here now is get to some of the listener questions, and what we'll do periodically, if people want to call in, we'll take your calls too. Let's see. This one comes from John. John, don't say where he's from. Your guest is right about Yahweh, but Lucifer was just a minor Roman god who's been demonized by the demons who wrote the Bible. Guest thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, like I said, Lucifer's only mentioned once in the Old Testament. Now, as far as him being a minor deity, that's not entirely true. If you take Lucifer just as that one reference, and of course he's identified with Venus as the morning star, which gets into the goddess identification of Lucifer. But he's not a minor deity because the church equated him with Satan, and that's what I do. I give the church the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, if Lucifer's Satan, what do we make of that? And Satan is no minor deity. He is the great cosmic anti-god, is he not?
Yeah.
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 It's duality.
Well, absolutely. And I'll be honest, and I've said this before, so I'm not afraid to admit it. Back when I was, I think I was about 18, I went to a friend's house, and he had in his room a Satanic Bible. And you know, I picked it up, and I said, what the hell? I did read it. And you know what? Yeah. I gotta say, I mean, I guess it depends who's writing books, but I mean, I guess any book could be written to convince you of whatever it wants to convince you of. And when reading the Satanic Bible, I mean, it really kind of made sense. I hate to say it, but it did.
I read it. I read it. It makes sense. I agree with a lot of it, not all of it.
Well, right.
That was Anton LaVey's personal philosophy. It doesn't really have a lot to do with what the ancient texts themselves say.
Well, yeah, and again, I mean, I read it, and it asked the questions that I think a lot of us would ask. Is, well, if that's the case, why do we suffer? Why do we do, you know? And I remember all that, and so I mean, I give all sides a chance. I read it all, and I take it all with a grain of salt. I don't know as though anybody knows all the answers per se. But, you know, you try to do the best you can with the history that we do. I mean, there's so much we don't know about. I mean, wouldn't you love to get into the Vatican library? And
oh, my God. Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the dots you'd be able to connect if you could do that, you know?
There's supposed to be, what, like 24 miles of text under there that nobody gets to see?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
what do you think they're hiding?
Oh, they're hiding the truth. They're definitely hiding. If we could get in there, we'd know a lot more. We'd probably know a lot more about our neighbors in space too, I'm guessing.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot there that's being hid. That's why they had to put a wall around it. But you know, he's the guy who said no wall, but look at him, he's got one. Anyway, Stacy in Arizona, she says, while you're right about that Lucifer, wow, I'm surprised actually that we're getting so many who agree. I mean, that's not that I care, I'm just saying I'm surprised. Okay, so while you're right about Lucifer, Satan is the god of this planet that fell to him through sin. You are wrong that he is love. Well, who said he was love? Did you say he was love?
I don't think I did.
It goes on to say the Creator God, he is love. You may want to accept Jesus as your Savior before it's too late. I thought it was good. There it is. Satan and his legion of followers will all be destroyed, and I'm sure you'd rather not be in that category.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, okay. So there you go. There's your answer to that one. All right. So
anytime somebody tells me that I need to find Jesus or anything along those lines, I if that's all you have to say, you really have nothing constructive to say at all.
well, yeah, and I have people all the time. I joke sometimes. I tell people you need a little Jesus in your life, but I'm joking because, I've had people, believe me, I've had them all. My show was on a station once that I helped build, and the guy there, all of a sudden he took a total turnaround on me and started saying, well, you can't have psychics on because that goes against the Bible. We better not talk about ghosts. I don't think God will like that. And then when I told him where to stick it, he had messages for me from God. God apparently wanted me to leave my wife, wanted me to, support them, because apparently God was running his social network now. So I'm like, wow, God's into the internet business now, too. That's great.
Well, if he's everywhere, he's always online.
He's everywhere you want to be, right? All right. Timmy in hot Florida. Well, Timmy, I'm sorry it's so hot where you are. This world is so, blanked up, I'll say. Billions of people are worshiping Satan, Yahweh, and they don't even know it. So apparently what he's saying is that people are worshiping Satan through Yahweh and they don't know it. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate. What Here's what that is. People's idea of Satan conforms with the Judeo-Christian Islamic perspective of Satan, as well does God. And when somebody says that, they're referring to the Abrahamic perspective of who Satan is.
Okay. All right.
And like I keep saying, it's not true.
Okay. And we've got Herman. Herman's in Idaho. He says, if you ask me, Yahweh was the first controlled opposition. Your guest thoughts on that, please.
What does he mean by that?
That's be a good question. Well, Herman, if you want to write back and
controlled opposition.
Yeah, his first controlled opposition.
Well, I will say this. In the narrative, it's pretty clear, the further along you go, that Satan, who in the Sumerian myths is Enki. We could talk about Sumeria because a lot of people are fixated on that.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Let's get into that a little bit.
But it's clear through the narrative that the opposition is an opposition between Yahweh and Satan. Now, in the Sumerian pantheon, Enlil is Yahweh and Satan is Enki. And I prove that in my book with, excuse me, with symbology and correlations and correspondences between deities. Now, why is Satan Enki? There's a lot of nonsense online that I've seen personally that says that Satan is Enki, but nobody seems to understand why that is. So let's take Satan. Start with Satan. Satan is the red dragon of Revelation, right? So he's a dragon. And in Apocalypse of Moses in the Eden myth, he's described as a bipedal dragon figure. So the dragon is a very heavy motif with him. Now, in the Babylonian epic of creation, the Enuma Elish, the dragon is Tiamat. Now, when you read the Enuma Elish, when you see Tiamat, you're not reading of Satan. This is not what I mean. Tiamat is an aspect of Satan. And not just because she's a dragon. Satan, Enki in Sumeria is Ea in Akkadian. Ea is the water god. Enki is the lord of the earth. So you have a split right from the beginning, from Sumeria to Akkadian. God of earth, god of water, god of the oceans. Tiamat is the salt water to the Apsu's sweet water. The Apsu anybody who has read or followed Zecharia Sitchin or anybody else's work based on Zecharia Sitchin knows that the Apsu is associated with Ea. But everybody seems to think the Apsu is in East Africa. It's not. The Apsu is a word that literally means the primordial sea, the primordial waters. So the Apsu is the seas, the ocean. And Ea's domain was at the bottom of the ocean. And in the Canaanite myth, you can even read of Yam, who is his Canaanite epithet. He gets a temple built for him down there. And so the split, the earth and the sea, is what you have to pay attention to. In Canaanite mythology, like I said, the god of the sea is Yam. The god of the earth, or the underworld, is Maat. And in Greek mythology, it's Poseidon and Hades. Now, these are aspects of Satan. These are not Satan. These are aspects of Satan. But the correspondences could be made, and I do make them in the book, to link these deities, because in the narrative, you have to have a coherence. So when you recognize that parts of the Enuma Elish, for instance, or the Popol Vuh of the Maya, or whatever you want to reference, has similarities to the Bible or the Quran, it's because the Bible is taken from these older sources. All these other religions, all the other pagan religions of the time of the Roman Empire took all these deities and made their own.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All
So
right.
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure where we were going with that.
Oh no! It's quite all right. Like I say, I learned that, listening and you learn. So we got Glenn in Florida. Well, I wonder if that's the Glenn I know. We got Glenn in Florida. Lucifer chose to be uncreated. Satan is said to have repented. So I guess Satan's got down on his knees and repented, this guy's saying? I don't know. Is Satan and Lucifer, first off, are they the same people?
In the narrative, yeah.
They are.
But if you're just speaking from a purely philological perspective, then they could be separate entities, but I don't take that stance.
Okay, we've got another call here.
I'm sorry. Could I clarify what he said?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Lucifer being our creator, like I said, Lucifer is Satan, so I use that. And Satan is Enki. Now, in the creation story, Enki created us. We were a product of evolution, like Darwin said. However, the mythic record states that there was this primitive being that was around during that time, and they took that being, mixed it with the DNA of the gods, actually a specific god called Kingu, who is the leader of a rebellion headed by Tiamat. And Ninersag helped Enki create us. So that's why Satan, or Lucifer, is our creator.
Okay, and real quick before we take our second call here, somebody asked if you had described Satan's personality, I guess Lucifer's personality. I mean, is that something that could be done? Can we just...
Yeah, in a word, munificent.
Munificent. All right.
Munificent,
folks. We've got here, it says on the screen here, Autumn in Rose. So I'm guessing that's not your actual name, but welcome.
Hello, my name is Austin, and I have a question.
Sure.
Actually, I was wondering if you knew anything about the Al-Jilwa. It's
no.
The Al-Jilwa.
What is that?
I actually discovered this book on a website, The Joy of Satan Ministries, and yeah, it talks about basically the story of Satan in Sumeria.
Okay.
I didn't know if you knew about that or not, but I also had a statement, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I've been a practicing Satanist, and I know you're not, but I've been a practicing Satanist for about 9-10 years of my life, and the information you've given tonight, I've been in the process of writing my own books, and a lot of what you've discussed tonight I've actually written, and it was awesome to hear you say all those things too. And I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. It's been a while.
That's quite all right. You know, hey, sometime maybe get you on the show and find out why you are a Satanist. I like to learn. I like to hear people, why people think differently than the majority. I mean, really, majority of people would say that, you're a bad guy, but I'm sure you're not a bad guy at all, are you?
No, definitely not.
Anything else?
I really, go ahead, Michael.
Oh, no, I say anything else. Go right ahead.
No, I really appreciate the information Priscilla's given tonight, and I really appreciate the work she's doing, and I hope you keep it up, honestly. I'd like to hear more about you. And
thank you.
All right. Well,
you're very welcome.
Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
My argument is not with religion. That may come as a contradiction to some people, but my argument is with mythology. Now, religious texts have a combination of mythology, of religious practices, rituals, rites, laws, festivals, etc., how to live your life, whatever. That's not my argument. If you want to be a Satanist or a Christian or whatever, that's fine to me. Right. My argument is with what the mythic record says.
Yeah, absolutely. You've interpreted it a little different than maybe some others have. And we've got another call here. We've got Ira. Yeah, and just for the record, nothing against anybody and any life decisions they make, but I'm not a Satanist either or anything like that. I actually believe, I've told people what I believe. I believe the universe is that God energy that, and it ain't new age stuff. I'm just telling you, we're like cells. We live within that energy, whatever you want to call it, you call it. You can call it the sheepo or whatever you want. You could worship the lawnmower for all I care. It really don't matter to me. Ira, welcome.
Hello.
What
a show. This has been a really good one. And Priscilla, this is very interesting. I have kind of an agnostic take on things as well. I was raised very religious, but I've gotten away from being religious and just kind of have that agnostic viewpoint with everything. But we had a question come in actually from the chat room, and I thought I'd call in with it before I ask my own.
Sure.
They were wondering what your take is as far as like where would something like Buddhism fit into all of this?
Well, I haven't addressed Buddhism really in this book. I plan to look at that more in the second book.
Okay.
As far as Buddhism in this book concerns, I do wrap in the concept of nirvana with the forbidden fruit of Eden and enlightenment. If you want me to get into that, I can. Like I said, the forbidden fruit is a sacred mushroom, the Amanita muscaria, and that taking this in is one method of achieving enlightenment. Yeah, you can sit under a tree and meditate or do yoga or whatever it is you want to do. But honestly, hallucinogenics are one of those ways. And, when Eve ate it and Adam ate of it, like I said, their minds open, their teeth were set on edge. So this is indicative of a hallucinogenic. Anybody who's done mushrooms will tell you that.
I can tell you.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't do mushrooms, but I did LSD when I was a teenager. And
yeah, you and me both, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
I did them both. I did those and peyote and mescaline. And I'll tell you what, I definitely, when I heard that description as well, I was like, whoa, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that point back up, actually, because that was one of the things I was going to mention to you is for instance, in the description of what happens there during Genesis, they talk about the snake, and the snake speaks to Eve, and so on and so forth. Okay, well, if you look into the stories of people that have done things like ayahuasca, you find out that a lot of them meet the ayahuasca woman, who actually is like a naga in mythology, the snake lady, the snake with a woman's head, who actually talks to them about enlightening them to the truth about what the planet is and what's going on in the universe and so on and so forth. So it kind of is almost a similar type of thing that's going on with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, Eve, obviously a woman. Lucifer ultimately is a goddess figure. My research shows this. So a goddess giving it to a woman is pretty indicative of a female enlightenment.
Maybe that's why the religions, they seem to be so down on women.
Well, that's a lot of it. The feminine has been eliminated from most of the patriarchal religions that are going on. There's very few religions that are extant today that have a feminine energy to them, and there's for a reason. That it was done as a methodology to try to get that more masculine bent going on in the world. So you see, in masculine religions, there's a lot of talk of we need to go over here, kill these people. We need to go over here and take this over. On and on and on, whereas the feminine is much more of a creative force and much more of a neutralizing kind of force. For me, the way that I look at religions is the best religions are those that remain very neutral, that have both male and female aspects to them, and kind of balance in between. So that's the way that I look at things.
All right. Well, the masculine is actually the result of a patriarchal system. God derives from goddess, and like I said, Allah derives from Alatu, which is a Reshkikal. Other gods too. Baal derives from his sister and consort Baalat, which is Asherah, who is the consort of Yahweh.
Yeah.
Asher derives from Asherah, and Asherah is Ishtar. Enlil derives from his sister and consort Ninlil, and even El of the Canaanite pantheon comes from Eloth, which is feminine. So it goes on and on.
Well, yeah, in the original mythology of things, Jehovah or Yahweh was actually a storm god there in the Middle East. Baal was his brother. And he was married to Ishtar or Asherah. Baal and Asherah or Ishtar had an affair together. That ticked off Jehovah and basically started the whole deal. That's why in biblical texts you can see that they specifically mention problems with those that are following Baal, and also problems that are with those that are following Ishtar or Asherah, because they were following the whole mythological thing that was going on there.
Right, and Baal in the narratives is Enlil, of course.
Right.
And outside of ancient Jerusalem ran a refuse heap called the Valley of Hinnom. And in the Valley of Hinnom, it had an altar called the Altar of Topath. And on that altar, people threw away their garbage. It was an ever-burning refuse heap. It constantly on fire because people were throwing garbage, dead animals, dead people, and they were also followers of Baal and Moloch, were sacrificing their children and burning them alive. And you can read that in the Bible.
They still kind of do that today, only they sacrifice other people's children.
They do, yeah. They do their own too, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they would. Now you've got like the drive-up window. You can order your child as you want, right?
Well, that's part of it. I mean, that's part of the whole thing with feeding us food products that have the aborted fetal tissues in it. That turning us right into all of that stuff. Well, I think they're still following that whole mythology of things.
Well, not to mention there was something said about soy product that had female hormones in it. Yeah. And what was happening is it was in baby food and stuff, and these people were feeding it. And actually somebody suggested that could be, why you have such, feminine, I guess, men nowadays in a lot of cases. I am not saying that. I'm just saying, that could be, they think that could be a cause for, I don't know,
For how the physiology of things have changed, yeah.
Gay parades and stuff. I don't know, but I think people are born that way, but they're saying that this has contributed to it. So I don't
know about that.
I don't either, but they say that these people they grow up, with the female hormones, and not that not saying all gay people like that. I'm saying that they say that this is what this does to, they grow up and they're very feminine, so they wind up going that route. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
I don't believe it personally, but I can't. I mean, you keep taking female hormones, it's going to do things to the body. You're gonna have guys with man boobs and things, and I don't want to get into all that, but right? I mean, it wouldn't. Isn't that what it would do? I mean,
yeah. If you could take too much estrogen in, it'll definitely have weird impacts on your body. Which also impacts the psychology too.
Yeah,
you'll transition
real quick.
Oh yeah.
Well, not quick. But
not quick, maybe, but it'll get there, definitely. Yeah. Priscilla, thank you for being here. And thank you for being brave and coming out in spite of the social normity of things, especially here in America. It's always nice to hear a refreshing opinion, of the other side of things. It's interesting. Did you touch on? I had to step AFK for a couple of minutes. Did you touch on the fact that the only time Lucifer appears in the Bible is there in Isaiah? I know you talked about that. Yeah. And also only in two translations, the Latin Vulgate and the King James Version. The rest of them translate the words Luciferon into the proper either morning star or lightbringer. Whereas in 2 Peter as well, in 2 Peter, the same phrasing is used, but it's referring to Christ.
Right. Right, and like I said before, the similarities between Jesus and Lucifer are very, very striking. Actually, in Revelation 22:16, which is the very end of the New Testament, Jesus himself states, "I am the bright and morning star."
Exactly, yeah.
And the bright and morning star is Lucifer. Jesus is Lucifer.
Yeah, it's the same phrasing in the translation is used.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I just wanted to make sure if you had mentioned that or went into that. So, Michael, thanks for having her on. And Priscilla, great job tonight. Keep it up.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Ira. All right. So, we got a question here from one of the listeners, chat room this time. Hey, MV, why do the capital G gods, it says, good, bad brother with us? I don't know what the hell that means, but says if they need something from us, says, buddy, you're gonna have to redo that question because I'm not getting it. You've got it all cut up there, and I don't have time on the air to make sense of it. So the next one, let's see, is you already answered that one. Let's see. What do we got here? I think that's there. Why is it that traditionalists are right when the knowledge of our basic belief system is pagan, and why is Lucifer truly seen as evil when our beliefs are created to control us? And the rest is cut off. So I don't know. Maybe you can catch it there.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the New World Order early on. Mm-hmm. Based on my research, and I loosely follow the New World Order agenda with news stories, and I have a group on Facebook that I post in, and I encourage other people to join and post as well. But as far as I know, as far as my research has shown me, like I said, the Abrahamic deity is the evil deity. And if the New World Order is worshiping an evil deity, I think it's the Abrahamic God. Because if it really was Satan or Lucifer, wouldn't they be pressing that doctrine on us? But they're not.
Yeah, that's true, and and that's why I've always been careful with a lot of these things. And for the record, folks, for some reason, I don't know, the chat question, one was cut off, the other one was just the words were all mixed up on. I couldn't make sense of it. So please think before you type. I would appreciate that. But yeah, I agree. And I've always looked at it took it all with a grain of salt. And I'm my religion is truth. That's what I like. I mean, I could read books and do all these things, and that's great. And it should open up avenues to research further. But, if you just stay focused in one area, you're never going to get to the truth because it's so out of the norm. Like where you've really gone out of the norm here. I mean, and some people would, they in some countries they'd stone you for what you've said, but you might be onto something. I mean, you really could be. Who am I to?
Yeah, I want to ask a question to the previous caller. He mentioned a Al-Jilwa text. If that person could send me an email to a link to an accurate translation of the text, I would love to see it.
Oh, okay. Great. And so, folks, you hear, and this was to the last caller. That was Ira then. Ira, you heard that. He's actually in the chat, so...
okay.
And he's a program manager here for our station, so he heard you.
Okay, great.
All right, and another question here. Who benefited from making Lucifer the fall guy? I guess that would be the best question.
That would be the church, of course.
The church. So they've benefited. But, I mean, well, money, I guess, right? I'm going to answer my own question there.
Okay, so... one of the claims that I make is Satan is the Holy Spirit. I can explain that right now if you like. And this is why they need Satan. They cannot... the faith crumbles without him because he is a pillar of the faith. Without Satan, Jehovah's not good. You need an evil character to balance the good, to recognize the good, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Would you like me to explain that?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so in the Gnostic scriptures, we have a figure called Pistis Sophia, which means faith, wisdom. And she is a feminine goddess, and she's also called Sosfita, who is identified with Juno. And Sophia means wisdom. And Sophia is also identified with the Jewish Shekinah. And the Shekinah is the godly energy from which Satan or Lucifer and all the other angels came from. They were created in this. And the Shekinah is identified with the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost, however you want to interpret that. And the Holy Spirit, in the Septuagint, the word is a Greek word called pneuma, which literally means wind or breath. And it only means spirit. It only meant spirit once Christianity was under control. Mm-hmm. Now, the Jewish Shekinah is also psyche, a Latin word which means animating spirit, from the Greek psychein, which means soul, mind, spirit, breath, etc., etc. And Satan is from the Shekinah. So it stands to reason. And Satan is the anima or psyche of Jesus, because let me backtrack for just 1 minute. The only instance in which the Satan makes an appearance in all of the Old and New Testaments is in the temptation of Christ, and he only comes after Jesus has been meditating, deprived of food, and I'm assuming not water because he would have died. But so he only comes after meditation, and he only comes to Jesus and, takes him around to different sites. And what this is Jesus hallucinated a delusion of his true inner self, his shadow self, to make manifest, to confront, to achieve enlightenment. And this is what the message that I have for enlightenment, Luciferian enlightenment. Jesus is the example. He's the argument. And so since Satan only comes during the temptation, and he is the shadow anima self of Jesus, that means in each of us, whether you accept Jesus or not, we all have a shadow self. Carl Jung spoke about this and wrote about this. Mm-hmm. And so each of us has to confront our own Satan, our own inner demon, in order to get past it, to reach enlightenment. That's my message about that. But anyways, So Satan is the anima or psyche of Jesus. So it stands to reason that the Holy Spirit drove Jesus into the wilderness, and the Holy Spirit is the Shekinah, and the Shekinah produced Satan, a demon, the head demon, right? So it stands to reason that the Shekinah is a demonic force as well as an angelic force. So Satan is the Holy Spirit in that sense.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, that's Rascala's on the line. Rascala, what do you think?
I am so confused.
You are. Well, welcome aboard, Rascala. You're a little low.
Okay, give me a second here. Is that any better?
It's getting there.
How about there?
You're getting a little bit more.
Okay.
Right there.
All right.
You're good. Welcome aboard, Rascala.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Priscilla, special name for me, Priscilla, because it's kind of embarrassing. Well, it used to be embarrassing. I'm not so embarrassed about it anymore. Years ago when I was in middle school, what people call middle school, was junior high at the time. My first name is almost spelled the same as yours. And if you put a P in my name, it looks like Priscilla. So I would get mail for Priscilla Stefan, and would typically be things like Barbizon School of Modeling, things for dresses and things of that nature. So, and occasionally, from time to time, I will. I'll tell somebody my name, or I'll write my name in an email, and they'll respond to Priscilla. So it's always been a special name to me.
Well, so, thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm enjoying what what you have to say is interesting. I don't know if enjoying is the correct word. I got to be honest with you. It pulls at a couple of my strings. I had a couple of questions, if I may.
Sure.
First, you refer to Satan. So, in your eyes, or in your opinion, who is Satan? And I mean I apologize, that wasn't clear enough. In your eyes, is Satan someone who works for the light, or is Satan someone who works for the darkness?
Well, Satan is somebody who works for the light. Satan is Lucifer, and Lucifer is the lightbringer, the bringer of the light of the sun. So it's a simple answer.
Okay.
It may be simple, but it's difficult to comprehend because of something that I have been taught all my life.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so, this is kind of like I'm trying to examine myself and say, am I having cognitive dissonance, or am I having, is my spirit telling me that what I'm hearing is wrong, or am I? It's the uncomfortable feeling that I'm having, the feeling of someone who's saying something that I'm reluctant to hear, because it could be true. I'm an open-minded person. I've been brought up as a Christian. I'm not your average Christian, because I believe in reincarnation. I'm a Christian in the terms that I believe that Christ was here, and he was here with a special message for people, and that to look to Christ or to follow Christ will get you to heaven. That's really what it's about. The people who scream at you, if you don't love Christ, you're never going to get to heaven. I'm one of those. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think God's going to look at each one of you in your heart when that time comes. And if your heart is pure, it's going to happen. And if your heart is not pure, then it's not going to happen. It's that simple. To me, it is. So I'm back to Satan. When you say Satan is light, where do you derive that from? I mean, I've been listening for a while, and I've heard some of the things that you've quoted from. Yeah. But in your mind, where do you see that happening? How do you see that as? I'm having a difficult time expressing myself because this is a difficult subject for me.
It is difficult.
I mean, besides the Lucifer connection, it's in the narrative, it's in philology, it's in etymology, it's everywhere. You should, you and everybody who's listening, don't take my word for it. Get a copy of the book. See the evidence for yourself. I cite everything in the book. I give all the verses and cite all the sources, and you can check it out for yourself. But go ahead.
I'm trying to word it so it comes out in a way that makes sense.
Take your time. It's all right.
Go ahead, Michael. Give me a second. Let me
I say
contemplate what I want to say.
I say take your time. It's all right.
All right. When maybe this is an easier way. There are people who claim to be Luciferian, and I understand there are people who claim to be something and they do something bad, and that gives that, whatever that is that they claim to be a bad way, so to speak. But there are people who claim to be Luciferian who are involved in a plan, if you will, that is eventually to have full control over this planet. I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but these people are called themselves Luciferian. And what they're doing, in my point of view, is not a good thing. They're destroying the planet. Yeah. They are destroying people, and yet they're giving their honor to Lucifer. So is this the same Lucifer that you're talking of?
Well, like I said before, the people involved with the New World Order, the Illuminati and whatever, I believe they're worshiping the Abrahamic deity, because the Abrahamic deity is the evil one. The Lucifer I'm talking about is the Lucifer of the Abrahamic religion. It's the same one.
Now, say that slowly, because I'm not familiar with that term. One more time, please.
The Lucifer that I'm talking about is the same Lucifer that Christianity talks about.
No, you said something Abrahamic?
Abrahamic, yes. The God of Abraham.
Okay, the God of Abraham.
Yeah, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah.
Okay. And you're saying that Yahweh and Lucifer are one and the same?
No, I'm saying.
I think what she's saying is that the New World Order figures are actually worshiping Yahweh. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I've spent many years being involved with research on conspiracy stuff, and I too have seen the countless amounts of people saying that they worship Lucifer, but I have never, ever heard anybody cite where that comes from, or who specifically says that. I mean, yes, we have Albert Pike, but other than Albert Pike, who?
Would you agree with the statement that if there is a battle to be fought here, that the battle really is not a battle of flesh and blood, but a battle of spiritual battle?
What do you mean by battle?
That we are in a constant battle from day to day, and from minute to moment, from moment to moment. That we have decisions that we need that need to be made, and those decisions could be swayed by spiritual influences.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, whatever your spiritual influences are is inconsequential to what the overlords of the earth are doing these days.
So you're saying, and when you refer to overlords again, this would be Lucifer?
Oh, this would be people, the Illuminati.
I see. And in your view, the Illuminati is not, even though they say or we're told, or however we determine this, this Lucifer, this really not Lucifer that they're...
I don't see how that's possible, to be honest.
No,
I have not seen proof of that.
There are some like that Michael Aquino guy who, the Church of Satan and stuff. So would these guys have it wrong? Or do these guys, do they know what they're doing? I mean,
No, they know what they're doing. They do. Now, what I think is going on is all these researchers who say that they're worshiping Satan or Lucifer, they're projecting the Abrahamic idea of Satan and Lucifer out there. Yeah, they're worshiping evil, but Satan is not the evil one. And that's the fundamental flaw in the argument.
Okay, who is the evil one then?
Well, it's Yahweh.
That's the total, complete opposite of what I've been taught all my life.
That's right.
And what brought you to that resolution? How did you get to that?
Well,
I'm not arguing with you, Priscilla.
No,
I'm a researcher for truth. If there's truth to be found in any of this, I'd like to know it.
Yeah.
So I'm not giving you judgment. I'm just asking you honestly what's coming to my mind, not prejudging anything that you have to say or the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's not just one thing. It's everything put together, and it comprises my book. So I can tell you that he's evil because he brought on the flood on purpose, and he's evil because he wanted to keep Adam and Eve as automatons in the garden rather than free thinking individuals that they became. I could go on, but it's not just one thing. It's many things.
Okay, can we go back to the garden for a minute?
Sure.
Again, I don't want to sound argumentative, please. If I do, I apologize right now. I don't mean that. That's not my intention.
It's okay.
Oh, you don't.
Okay, all right.
Don't.
In the garden, when they were in the garden, the Bible says they ate of the fruit, the forbidden fruit, and for some reason it's described as an apple.
Sure.
And you described it as a mushroom.
Yes.
Correct? It was a mushroom?
Yes.
Some kind of a hallucinogenic
Yeah.
mushroom?
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
Amanita muscaria is the name of the mushroom in particular.
Is that like is it a common name, or that's like the scientific name of it?
I believe that's the scientific name.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, like they call
Flyagaric. Flyagaric, I think, is the more common name.
Is it something that is around today?
Oh yeah. Actually, it grows naturally in Siberia, and the reindeer that live there, that's their favorite food, and actually that's why they fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, now you have the proof. You understand why Rudolph's nose glows. There you go, right there.
There you go. It's sorry, go ahead.
So it's a possibility that utilizing this herb or this mushroom opens your senses and allows you to see spiritual messages.
Yes.
So it's because I believe that the Adam and Eve were in a very deep relationship with the Creator who created them, not the creator of everything, but the Creator who created them. This is where I get a little different than other Christians. That they had a very close relationship, but something happened, and I never have been able to grasp exactly what happened. Now, what you said, to me, makes a little bit of sense, that their eyes were spiritually... It's almost like us nowadays who become awake and go, oh my God, I can't believe this has been going on all these years, and I didn't see anything.
Right.
So I can see where it's kind of something like they took something, they ate a mushroom, and they did a trip, and through the trip they had their spiritual eyes opened. And now, having their spiritual eyes opened, they actually present a threat to their creator. Would that be correct?
Well, their creator is Enki, who is Satan. They did not have a relationship with him. He was there in the garden, of course. He had them eat of it. And but afterwards, they didn't want anything to do with him, unfortunately. After they were ousted out of the garden, Satan came to Eve twice afterwards. Once during when she and Adam were repenting in two different rivers. He was in the Jordan, she was in the Tigris, and he wanted them to repent for 40 days just by standing there. As if somehow that's going to do it. And during that time, Satan came to Eve and he talked her out of the water because what she was doing was ridiculous and he didn't want to see her go through that. And then he brought her to Adam, and of course Adam lost his mind and said, "What are you doing?" and drove Satan away. And Satan was upset by it. And he went away, and Eve went back to repent because Adam wanted her to. Later on, Eve was so overwhelmed with anguish because of what happened in Eden, and Adam kept blaming her. And she just took it all on herself. And at some point, she decided to leave Adam and travel west, and she was all on her own. And the land was barren, so there was not hardly anything around. And Satan came to Eve a third time when she was out there, and he procreated with her, and that's where Cain came from. Cain is the child of Satan. I don't know if that answers your question.
So Cain is a child of Satan.
Yeah.
So where did Abel come from? Or was
Abel,
there an Abel?
Yeah. Abel was the child of Adam. Cain was the child of Satan. And this actually created two factions of people during that age, the Cainites and the Sethites. And the Cainites resided in the land of what afterward became Canaan and what is now Israel. And the Sethites resided along the Zagros mountain range, and the Sethites were ruled by Yahweh, Enlil, and the Cainites were ruled by Satan, Enki.
Say that Satan Enki?
Enki. That's his Sumerian epithet.
Can you spell it phonetically for me?
Yeah, E-N-K-I. N is
M-K.
Sumerian.
Okay, M-K.
Yeah.
Okay.
N means Lord, and Ki means earth.
Okay.
So he's Lord of the earth, which actually corresponds to what the Bible says about Satan being the ruler of the world.
They say that he is the ruler of the fallen world.
The fallen.
Yeah, he's the king of the fallen world. Now that's what the Bible says. So
not in my translation.
What you're presenting, if and again, I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just trying to present my point of view. If
Sure.
What you're presenting is accurate, everything that we have been told basically is a lie.
That's right.
That Yahweh is the bad guy and that Satan is the good guy. I mean,
right.
in short story of the whole thing. Am I right?
That's right.
That's a hard nut to crack. That's a hard pill for me to swallow. Priscilla, I want to be honest with you.
Hey, let me just throw this in there to you both. I mean, doesn't the Bible talk of a great deception?
Yes, it does.
It does.
Now, on either end of this could be the great deception, could it not? Well, I mean, here's what I'm battling right now. I'm going to be brutally honest. The Bible was put together by the Roman Catholic Church. It was there are books that have been purposely left out of the Bible. There are books that were cherry-picked, if you will, to be put in the Bible. So there's information that, there's a saying that says he knows just enough to be dangerous. You heard that before? He knows just enough to be dangerous. And I think that is the information that they've given us in the Bible. It's just enough for us to be dangerous, but it's not the complete story. And so we don't have whatever else is going on. So it's not that I condemn anything that Priscilla says. I have a difficult time with it because I understand that I was taught to go to the right all my life. And now she's saying go to the left, or go center, or go back.
Yeah, and let me say about right and left. Like I said, Jesus and Lucifer philologically are the same entity. Now, they're both two hands of the same Godhead. Of course, Jesus is on the right, which is the male aspect. Lucifer is on the left, which is the female aspect. It's just two different hands of the same Godhead. And also about the translation, you said that Satan is the ruler of the fallen world. Mm-hmm. I use the original Greek translation of the Septuagint, and I also use the original King James Bible from 1611 that was published, and also used the Revised Standard Version, which was published in the early 20th century, and not in any of those does it say the fallen world. Now, on the translations, if you or anybody else who gets a translation that is more recent than that, chances are it's going to be corrupted. There's just no question. With the new translations, it's just unreadable. Like, things are left out, things are mistranslated, and this is on purpose. So if you really want to, in my opinion, if you want to get to the truth of the Bible, get the original. And I have it cited in my book. If you need help, just look at that and you'll see which one it is. And you can get a copy for yourself.
All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate being able to share the information back and forth. There are some areas that have brought question to my mind because not only do I go by what I hear, I go by what I feel in my spirit, what I feel in my gut. And I could go on for hours with you, but thank you. Michael, thank you. I appreciate it. Priscilla, thank you.
All right, Riscala, thank you very much. I appreciate the call. And Priscilla, I'm sure that, many people, he's not the first and he won't be the last who have problems swallowing it. Me, myself, I find it all interesting. I don't know, what the truth is. Like I tell people say, well, Jesus said this and Jesus said that. And I always say, how do I know? I wasn't there. So I don't know what Jesus said. I don't.
Right. And
yeah.
Let me make a point again. Okay. The Bible is just one account of many. And they all have truth in them. They all have something to say and something to consider. If you just limit yourself to one or two texts, you're really missing out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I believe that too. You don't want to read as much as you can. I mean, get a hold of everything you can. I mean, you want to hear like all the candidates before you pick one, right? I mean, so you got to know who's for what, and you can't put it together unless you go everywhere with it. So, Priscilla, what I'd like to do is give you the floor to get out anything else that you'd like. And I do thank you for being here. And I do have, I think, one more question here in our chat. There's several, but I'm going to go probably one more here. Okay. Can you ask Priscilla how she deems Yahweh as the devil? I think you've already explained that, right? A couple times.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, but I'd like to give you the floor to get out anything that you'd like.
Well, like I said, I have groups on Facebook. One is for religion and mythology. One is for conspiracy and politics. I encourage people to join and to post and to be a part of it. And I also have artwork for sale. I have T-shirts and other apparel for sale and other items, phone cases, pillows, you name it, based on my artwork. And all that can be reached through my website. And I know Amazon doesn't have a very good look inside feature for my book because it only goes so far. You can read the introduction for free on my website. It's up there, as well as an explanation of my encounter with Zecharia Sitchin, which I had in 2010, so you can read about that too.
I read all that today.
Yeah. So everything is through my website, of course.
Okay. And why don't you go ahead and give the website out, and we've got it linked up on our website as well.
The website is called Beautiful Nightmare Studios, plural, beautifulnightmarestudios.com. And the book, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Lucifer, Origins, and Revelation.
Okay. All right. Well, Priscilla, keep up the great work. I mean, you're very brave to go, because I'm sure there's shows that'll try to have you on just to argue with you.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, listen, I think...
look forward to it.
Okay. Well, maybe sometime I have you back here, and I'll have... we'll bring someone else on and can have a kind debate, if you will.
That would be great.
Okay, great. Well, listen, thank you again. I appreciate it. And, we'll talk again.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
All right, folks, there she goes, Priscilla. Kind of a tough one tonight. I mean, really, it is tough. I mean, you are taught a certain thing. See, that's why I'm glad I'm not I'm not brainwashed either way. I mean, I've always been, like I said, I really mean it when I say it. If I find out Mickey Mouse created me, I'd be okay with that. I just want to know. See, and some people hate me because of that, because they want me to be mad like them. No. Jesus is this and Jesus said that. I don't know. And just like with her, I mean, you know, we entertained it tonight, but I don't know. Maybe she's telling what she's saying is true. Maybe it's not. Maybe, I mean, these people were taking mushrooms, folks. Come on. You eating you know, I should have wrote a few pages when I took a hallucinogenic when I was younger, you know? I would never, believe me, my mind says, oh, that would be great again. But my body says, no. We're just, you know, you get to a certain point in life, and I'm glad that I did it when I did it, all right? But I would never do it again. Those days are over, especially, you know, those days are over. But yeah, when I was a teenager, I took a couple hits of LSD, and I'll tell you what, I don't regret it, because, man, I mean, the plants had souls, everything. You could see the energy and everything. But I don't want to go talking about that, because then these younger people are going to listen and go, oh, I want to try that. No, you don't. Just listen to the older guys when they tell you how it was. That's all you really need. I'm going to take my last break here, folks, and then when we come back, I don't know, we'll chit-chat for a few minutes. If you want to call in, you can. If you don't, then you don't have to. We'll be back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vara. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vara, and I know we've got some of you we got thinking tonight. Others of you, quite frankly, we've pissed you off tonight. And for the rest of you, you just don't know yet. But I promise you, there is no intent here at all, except for to just have a great show and to hear the other side of the coin. I mean, really, that's all it is. It's not about just what I believe or what I feel. I've got to look at it all. I look at the big picture, and then I make my decisions. Putting this puzzle together is not easy, and I don't let others influence me. So just because I have a lot of people around me who believe in, you know, a certain way or certain thing, whether it be Bibles or what have you, I don't follow. I don't go along to get along. I think for myself. I listened to what she had to say, and of course some of it makes sense. I mean, you know, to me it would. I'm not brainwashed, so it makes some sense, but it doesn't decide my mind. You know when I'll be able to finally say I know for a fact? Well, when this body quits. And at that point, what the hell good is it to know, right? I don't know. If it's going to be any good to know, I hope it is. But anyhow, it is what it is, folks. You know, you could pray to whoever you want. Now, maybe that's why people say, well, my prayers are never answered. Maybe you're praying to the wrong one. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, folks. I don't know. We do have a call. We've got Ira. I'm going to bring him on in a minute here to finish things up. This Friday night, I've had a pretty good time here tonight. We've had conversation about Lucifer and something we don't do often here. Listen, we hear a lot of people come on this show and speak about Jesus and speak about the Bible and the prophecies and all these other things. So, we got to cover all sides of the coin, don't we? Both sides anyways. We do. And so that's what we do. The website's latenightinthemidlands.com. And folks, becoming a late nighter helps keep us on the air. Rather than support the Norries and the midnight and the ditches and all that stuff and support liars and control, people, it's really medias that are under control, you'd be better spent, that money anyways, would be better spent here because we actually use it to better ourselves. We actually use it to make the site and everything else more listener and people friendly. I mean, the money, goes back in to what we do. Keeps us on the air. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Keeps us on the air. So help us out, folks. Donations especially. Those get us out of hot water quick because, with this show comes bills. I mean, look, their stations want to charge me $300 to be on for a couple hours, and I mean it's insane. It's insane. All we're asking $5 a month, and we give you access to our forums, our insider videos. As a matter of fact, I've been just putting those videos out anyways lately because they're so important and there's so much that needs to be said, especially with the Trump haters. They got the trolls that keep come in the chat room. They know who they are. They're morons. And didn't you like that too, by the way, Ira? How about that? I was able to link the people who say that Lucifer's the good guy. Okay, so if you were to pray, you would pray to Lucifer, right? So I was able to link people who would pray to Lucifer to Sanders. Hello again.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I had myself muted.
There you are.
I do that all the time. Yeah, I was just going to say you were very adept at doing that, I'll tell you.
Oh, I seen my chance. I had to take it. I had to ask. I didn't want...
You had me rolling.
I didn't want to hear the Trump bashing or anything, but I said, well, let me take a chance in Polar because I just said, no, we'll stay away from the politics, but I had to know. My guess was telling me Hillary. I was wrong. It was Sanders. So
it wasn't Godzilla in a pantsuit.
Yeah. So
Hillary Clinton. That's what I'm calling her from now on. Godzilla in a pantsuit.
See, there's always a method to my madness. There's always a method to my madness. You see what I've accomplished here? And if I've accomplished one thing here tonight, it's that. But anyhow,
I'll tell you, one of the things that she said that was really interesting is something that I've investigated over the years. I've learned a lot about it years ago, and it's a really fascinating subject when you start really delving into it, and that is the subject of the Amanita muscaria mushroom and actually what kind of effects it's had on us as human beings through the years. There are a lot of things when you really start tracing things backwards that definitely are tied to that Amanita muscaria mushroom, the psilocybin mushroom, up to and including which you were joking about Christmas. Very deep involvement as far as the mushroom is concerned with Christmas. Very weird.
Well, and I'll say, and one of the listeners makes a good point. Yeah, see, we had a Bernie Sanders supporter as a guest tonight, and look how it was civil. It was civil.
Great, yeah.
I almost got out of hand, but it was civil. But I could say for my experience, honestly, Ira, when I took mushrooms once, somebody gave me, and all it did was put me in a bad mood. So, but no, honestly, the LSD, this is how this went down. I had a friend one day who was convincing me that if I ate this little square piece of paper, that all these things would happen. He described it. I didn't believe him, all right? So, I thought he was just trying to scam me out of a couple dollars. So we did it. And I'll tell you what, I'm glad that I did it because for me, it opened up a whole nother world. It did. And I did it a few times after that. And, of course, it's not something you could keep doing if you want to, stay sane.
Yeah. It definitely takes you into a different place. That's for darn sure. I
I never had a bad experience either.
Oh, I did. I ended up accidentally getting hold of 8 hits of bad acid and ended up ingesting them all at once, and I'm surprised I came back. It was a bad trip. I'll just put it to you that way.
Listen, one of my trips. Okay, check this out. I knew what was happening afterwards. Like the next day, I figured it out what actually was happening. But I seen Godzilla come out of the water. Stand up. I mean, the water was falling off of him, and it was amazing. And I just sat there laughing and watching this. The next day, I figured out what was going on. There was a pile of bats over the water that were dipping down into the water for mosquitoes and stuff. And as they would fly back up, the water was falling off of them. And because of what I was, did that night, it just took the shape of Godzilla. And boy, what a show that was.
For me, one of the bad ones I had there was the grass. Every blade of grass was a little dragon breathing fire at somebody's feet, and I was trying hard to rescue her from it. It was bad.
Oh, that is bad. For me, I mean, it was like I went outside. I mean, we traveled when I did it. I mean, we went around. We went to parks. This is at night, too, so nobody was out. It was pretty quiet. I mean, I got to know the trees, the grass. I got to know. I mean, I could literally sense the energy off of everything. And I don't have to know you. All I have to do is look at you. I could tell what you were thinking, how you felt. I could feel what you were feeling. It was really strange stuff.
Well, see, that's one important aspect as far as using these kind of hallucinogens are concerned, is that it exposes you to actually what really is truly real, what we don't normally perceive in this, in this meat suit that we're wearing, the senses that are cut off and our understanding of being certain things in a certain way. When you take one of these hallucinogens, it really exposes you to what is actually there behind the veil,
And get this, the two things I couldn't comprehend while I was under the influence, the two things I could not comprehend was money. It meant nothing to me. I didn't know how to count it, what it was for. Didn't mean a damn thing to me. And money was the biggest one. But what else? There was something else. It just slipped my mind now. But things like that didn't matter. You had no use for them. I mean, some people talk about sex, and I couldn't do anything like that. Well, I don't know how people do that, but yeah. So things like that just didn't matter. I mean, you were like with the earth. I mean, I don't know why some people do it, whatever, but I did it just because I wanted to experience it, and I had no idea what it was going to do. I didn't. And of course, after the first time, I wanted to do it again. And, I did it a few times, and, so now I know when people talk about these other dimensions, I'm like, yeah, I know they exist.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You were exposed to them.
I've seen them. Yeah, I've seen them.
Yep, I'll tell you that it's really weird. I mean, they call it mind altering, but it really is mind expanding. That's really what it comes down to. We have, it's like it I don't know. I guess to me, it brings you to a level where your consciousness is more in control than the meat suit, than the mind, basically. And when you're in that stage, it really is true that there are certain things that won't matter anymore because they really don't matter. Like the money thing. That's a big one, actually. You're not alone in that. I know a lot of people that have gone through the exact same kind of experiences. They can't comprehend money. They can't even count it. They want nothing to do with it. They'll just drop everything and walk away from it.
Oh, that was the other thing. Language. Like if you people talking to me, if you weren't, I mean, my buddy or whatever, and we kind of like were mind kind of telepathy, but when people would talk to me, it sounded like a foreign language. I just look at them and laugh. It's like, I don't know what the hell you're saying.
Well, see, and if you go into people like my wife Jolene, for instance, who is one of these types of strange people that she can remember like everything from when she was a little kid. She remembers sitting in her crib trying to speak, but wasn't able to speak. All that would come out is like goo and ga and that kind of stuff. But she remembers thinking in full sentences. This is what our consciousnesses really are, people, and these these chemicals, that are designed or accidentally or evolved or whatever, that come into a frame, that bring us to a frame of mind where it's like that disconnect is there. It's incredible what you end up getting exposed to. It's incredible the things that you actually start to learn about the truth of the universe.
My buddy and I, one time we went into, and Donna will know what I'm talking about, Sacred Heart Cathedral over on Flower City Park in Rochester. We went in there. We were, doing the do, and we went in there and sat down. There was no church was open, but there was no mass or nothing going on, and it's a huge church. Well, we sat down and we're sitting there, and they got this big cross up on the stage, and Jesus is on it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I start laughing, and I'm feeling a little uneasy, man. Jesus started dancing around and was looking at us. And I mean, it got really, really weird. So we got up and got out of there. And as we got across the street and looked back at the church, it turned into a Hostess cupcake, and it melted. And that was it. That was my grand finale. I've not touched it since. I had my dance with Jesus. That was good enough for me.
Indeed. Well, I never danced with Jesus, but I had quite a few different experiences, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, wooden Jesus was boogieing it down, man. I was like, no. Yeah, holy water and all that stuff. I mean, I didn't dare touch it. I was like, I don't dare touch it, I'll melt.
There's for anybody that's interested as far as the whole, background on how these mushroom cults and that kind of thing acted, and actually some of the things that we still have in our society today, and in our culture today that we don't recognize as being related to these mushroom cults. There's a book, I can't remember who wrote it exactly. I think it was Joe or Jose Alondro. It's called The Mushroom and the Cross. It's really, really interesting. You guys can also look into some stuff from a guy named Terrence McKenna, who came up with some really awesome concepts, but they both kind of talk about some of the background with the stuff. It's really fascinating when you start really delving into it.
So basically, these guys a couple thousand years ago, they all sat down, they had some parties, they ate some mushrooms, they broke some bread and drank some wine. It was a good time, right? And then somebody was kind of left out and started writing, right? And so now some dummy left that behind, and people took it, and now for 2,000 years, it's all been... I mean, they've made all kinds of different things out of it, and it really
there's a big possibility with that. I think how it kind of started off was, in way back, our ancestors would see like reindeer and other animals were eating out of the dung these mushrooms that would grow, and looking for.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, what?
Wait a minute now. Here,
they grow out of poop.
Yeah, I know they do. And I'm wondering who was the first one, just like I wonder who was the first one went up to a cow and said, I got to try some of that milk coming out.
Exactly.
Well,